The jungle was silent, too silent for men who had been trained to hear danger before it struck. The Navy SEALs moved with careful steps, their eyes scanning every shadow, every tree that seemed to lean a little too close. They had been dropped into this valley for a simple extraction, but nothing about the mission had stayed simple. What should have been a quick move turned into a trap, the kind no training could fully prepare you for. Within minutes, the dense undergrowth became a kill zone. Gunfire ripped through the silence, echoing off the ridges like rolling thunder. The team hit the ground, instincts taking over, their formation scattered by the sudden burst of chaos. Bullets hissed past them, striking bark, dirt, and stone. These men were used to walking into danger, but this was different. Whoever had set up the ambush knew the terrain well. The SEALs were pinned, their escape cut off from every side. Each second that passed tightened the noose. Through the smoke and ringing noise of the first exchange, the men exchanged quick signals, their eyes saying what words could not. Their leader, a veteran of more missions than he could count, tried to steady the group, but even he could feel the odds slipping away. They were outnumbered, outflanked, and the high ground above them belonged to the enemy. Every move they made seemed to trigger more fire, pushing them deeper into the trap. And then it happened. One single shot cut through the chaos. It was not aimed at them. It came from somewhere far above, high on an unseen ridge. The sound was sharp, deliberate, carrying with it a strange promise. For a heartbeat, everyone froze. The SEALs looked toward the ridge, but the shooter remained hidden, unseen. Who had fired that shot? An enemy? A stranger? Or perhaps the ally they never knew was there? The team didn't have time to ask, because with that single rifle shot, everything in the kill zone was about to change.
The jungle was silent, too silent for men who had been trained to hear danger before it struck. The Navy SEALs moved with careful steps, their eyes scanning every shadow, every tree that seemed to lean a little too close. They had been dropped into this valley for a simple extraction, but nothing about the mission had stayed simple. What should have been a quick move turned into a trap, the kind no training could fully prepare you for. Within minutes, the dense undergrowth became a kill zone. Gunfire ripped through the silence, echoing off the ridges like rolling thunder. The team hit the ground, instincts taking over, their formation scattered by the sudden burst of chaos. Bullets hissed past them, striking bark, dirt, and stone. These men were used to walking into danger, but this was different. Whoever had set up the ambush knew the terrain well. The SEALs were pinned, their escape cut off from every side. Each second that passed tightened the noose. Through the smoke and ringing noise of the first exchange, the men exchanged quick signals, their eyes saying what words could not. Their leader, a veteran of more missions than he could count, tried to steady the group, but even he could feel the odds slipping away. They were outnumbered, outflanked, and the high ground above them belonged to the enemy. Every move they made seemed to trigger more fire, pushing them deeper into the trap. And then it happened. One single shot cut through the chaos. It was not aimed at them. It came from somewhere far above, high on an unseen ridge. The sound was sharp, deliberate, carrying with it a strange promise. For a heartbeat, everyone froze. The SEALs looked toward the ridge, but the shooter remained hidden, unseen. Who had fired that shot? An enemy? A stranger? Or perhaps the ally they never knew was there? The team didn't have time to ask, because with that single rifle shot, everything in the kill zone was about to change. The SEALs pressed themselves low to the ground, hearts pounding, trying to make sense of the sudden interruption. That single shot had shifted the battlefield, but it hadn't solved anything. Bullets still cracked around them, ricocheting through the thick foliage, and the enemy didn't seem fazed at all. Whoever was up on that ridge had patience, and patience in a battle like this could mean the difference between life and death. As the team regrouped, small details began to stand out. Footprints in the mud led toward the ridge, but they were too fresh to belong to the ambushers. Strange markings carved into the trees suggested someone had been observing this area long before the seals arrived. It became clear that they weren't just dealing with a routine enemy patrol. They were caught in a carefully orchestrated trap designed to lead them somewhere unknown. The leader signaled for quiet, and the team huddled briefly. Each man knew the stakes. They had trained for missions like this, but fear was never something you could train away. One of the younger SEALs, barely out of training, whispered about the rifle shot. It wasn't like the others. It was precise, controlled, he said, his eyes wide as he scanned the canopy. The older members nodded, sensing the same thing. This wasn't random. It was calculated. Somewhere up there, beyond the ridge, someone had chosen their moment perfectly. The SEALs had no visual, no confirmation of friend or foe. Yet they had to act, to survive. Every instinct screamed caution, but the clock was ticking. Every second in the kill zone was another risk, and the enemy seemed to know exactly where they were. The wind shifted, carrying a faint sound, a twig snapping, a leaf brushing against something heavy. The SEALs froze, tension slicing through the humid air. Whoever was up there was moving, and the unknown rifle shooter might not have just saved them. They might be watching, waiting, and deciding the next move. The SEALs huddled in the shadows, each man aware of the weight pressing down on them. Sweat ran down their faces, mixing with the dirt and grime of the jungle floor, but they didn't dare wipe it away. Every sense was heightened, ears straining for the faintest rustle, eyes scanning for any movement. The jungle that had once seemed like an obstacle now felt alive, almost aware, holding secrets the team couldn't yet uncover. The leader, a seasoned operator with scars from missions no one talked about, whispered instructions that barely rose above the wind. "We need eyes on that ridge. Someone's up there, and we need to know who." The younger SEALs nodded, tension in every movement. They had faced danger before, but the unknown always carried the heaviest burden. Every mission left its mark, and this one was shaping up to be one they wouldn't forget. As they slowly moved forward, trying to stay low and silent, the team noticed subtle changes in the terrain. Broken branches, footprints that didn't match the enemy's pattern, and faint glimmers of something metallic caught in the sun, evidence that the unseen shooter wasn't just lucky. Whoever it was had prepared, had studied the kill zone, and knew exactly when to intervene. It was a game of patience and precision, and the SEALs were unsure if the player above them was an ally, an enemy, or someone entirely unexpected. The air was heavy with anticipation. Each step forward was measured, deliberate, yet the feeling of being watched never left. The SEALs exchanged brief glances, understanding without words that they were now part of a much larger puzzle. And above them, hidden among the trees and jagged ridges, the shooter remained unseen. Every heartbeat seemed louder, every shadow deeper. They were caught in the kill zone, but the rules had changed. The question now was not just how they would escape, but who was pulling the strings, and what was waiting for them once they found out. The team edged deeper into the jungle, every movement slow and deliberate, as though the air itself might betray them. The ridge loomed above, sharp against the sky, a silent reminder of the rifle shot that had stopped the chaos only moments before. Each man felt the weight of the unknown pressing on his shoulders. Was the hidden marksman a savior, or just another threat waiting for the perfect moment? The enemy fire grew quieter, not gone, but shifting, as if their attackers were regrouping. That silence was worse than the bullets. It meant the trap was not over, it was only tightening. The SEALs crouched low in the tall grass, their breaths shallow, listening. Somewhere out there, the jungle whispered of movement. A twig snapped, leaves rustled. The enemy wasn't far, circling them like predators that had learned patience. One of the younger SEALs raised his hand, pointing toward a flicker of light on the ridge, just for a second, then gone. The leader's eyes narrowed. He had seen it too, a glint of metal or glass catching the sun. Someone was still up there, watching, waiting. His instincts told him this wasn't coincidence. Whoever held that ridge controlled the kill zone. The team tightened their formation, inching forward with blades of grass brushing against their faces. The silence pressed in until it felt deafening. The younger man's heart pounded so loud he was sure the enemy could hear it. Each step forward brought them closer not just to the ridge, but to the moment when everything would break loose again. And then, as the jungle seemed to hold its breath, another rifle shot cracked through the valley. It was sharper this time, deliberate, and it struck so close the ground shook with impact. The seals froze. The next move, they knew, would decide everything. The echo of the second rifle shot rolled across the valley, carrying with it a tension so sharp it seemed to cut through the air. The seals stayed frozen, waiting for the follow-up they feared might come, but none did. Instead, a chilling silence spread across the jungle, broken only by the slow drip of water from the canopy above. The ground where the shot had landed was close, too close, and it was now clear that the unseen shooter was no longer just influencing the fight. They were in control of it. The seals exchanged uneasy glances, the weight of the moment settling in. If the first shot had felt like protection, this one was a warning. Someone on that ridge was shaping the battlefield, pushing the seals exactly where they wanted them to go. The ambushers in the jungle weren't working alone. They were part of something bigger, and the hidden marksman might not be an ally at all, but the one pulling the strings from the shadows. As the seals crept forward, the terrain grew harsher, forcing them toward a narrow ravine. The leader felt the trap closing. Every instinct screamed against moving into such a confined space, but the enemy fire from the flanks and the shots from above left them no choice. The kill zone was no longer just a place, it was a plan, and the team had walked right into it. Then came the twist none of them expected. From the far side of the ridge, a second volley of gunfire erupted. But this time it wasn't aimed at the seals. Their ambushers cried out in confusion, scrambling for cover as unseen forces attacked them from behind. The jungle erupted into chaos again, but now the battlefield had shifted. The seals weren't the only ones caught in this deadly game, and whoever had just entered the fight was about to change everything. Chaos tore through the valley as gunfire from the unseen ridge cut straight into the ambushers. The seals took the chance, moving fast through the tall grass, closing gaps they hadn't dared to cross before. For the first time since the trap was sprung, the team wasn't the focus of the assault. Whoever had joined the fight was turning the tide, and every burst of fire from the ridge echoed with precision. The leader met the stranger's gaze from below. For a moment, time felt suspended. The mission was over, the kill zone quiet, yet the question lingered in the heavy air. Had they been saved or chosen? The answer, unspoken and unresolved, was left hanging on the ridge where the rifles still gleamed. The ridge fell silent, the jungle finally settling after the storm of gunfire. The seals remained crouched in the ravine, breaths heavy, adrenaline still surging. The mysterious figure on the ridge never spoke, never moved closer. Instead, after what felt like an eternity, they turned and disappeared into the trees, leaving behind only questions. The team lowered their weapons, uneasy with the quiet, yet relieved to still be standing. As the smoke cleared, the scale of what had just happened became clearer. The ambushes had vanished, retreating deeper into the valley, leaving their trap unfinished. The marksman, ally, enemy, or something in between, had tipped the balance of the fight, but for reasons the seals couldn't fully understand. The leader replayed every moment in his head, wondering if they had been rescued or manipulated. In war, intentions are often hidden, and this mission had proven that truth more than any other. The men regrouped, checking gear, tending to cuts and bruises, and steadying themselves for extraction. They had entered the kill zone expecting a fight, but what they found was a reminder that the battlefield is never simple. It is shaped by unseen forces, by choices made in the shadows, and by players who may never reveal their names.
As the team moved toward the extraction point, the younger SEAL glanced back at the ridge one last time. The sun was dipping low, painting the treetops gold, but no figure remained. Only silence and mystery lingered there. The mission was complete, but its meaning was left unfinished. Sometimes survival is the only victory, and sometimes the greatest battles are not about winning or losing, but about learning who holds the power in the unseen ridges of life.